Do you sometimes feel like you're always low rolling?
You lose.
Are you hard stuck at a certain rank? Well, today I'm going to give you a game plan to fix all of that. Okay, so starting off with pre-game, the portal selection is actually a lot more important than you might think. You want to focus on low variance portals and portals that support your favorite comps, which ideally will be meta ones. If you genuinely want to improve, then don't rely on high variance and try to make your spot better. Where other people will be hoping for a bailout from a different high variance portal, you'll be happy that you stood on something low variance. Make sure that you're holding on to pairs for your openers, but don't just hold on to random ones. Upgrades don't matter in a meta where you need econ and you need to choose your path relatively early. Learn the common openers of each patch. You can do this by watching other streamers and see what they usually lean towards. For example, having a fated all 1-star board with maybe perhaps one upgrade is a lot better than holding on to multiple 2-star upgrades. You can see in this example, once I know that I'm locked into the fated opener with the tier +3 fated, I don't really care about the story weaver units as it's so far away from actually making a stronger board and I'm locked into a much better meta line. Match your items to your pairs and upgrades. For example, if you have a good Duelist opener, you have a lot of Yasuo's and Darius, but then you start to see a lot of AP items such as Tears and Rods. Unless you get a slammable item, you probably want to try and sell them and hold on to something else. There's nothing wrong with holding on to less units that actually match your items, as you're going to make 10 gold anyway, play for a loss streak, and then be in a much better position. The worst thing you can do is hold on to the wrong units, don't make econ, and then go win-loss, as this will completely ruin your spot. Pre-game is where most players ruin their spot and it's the hardest to know when you make a mistake, so definitely do not neglect this part of the game. In the early game, when it comes to your first augment selection, the easiest thing you can do is just check the stats. At 2-1, the context is the least important because you haven't really locked yourself into anything. That being said, your options do matter a lot based on your upgrades, items, and region. There's a simple checklist, which you should be asking yourself, can you streak and can you slam? If you answered yes to both, then you want to try and take a combat augment to maintain a 5 streak and always level to 4 on 2-1. If you can't do either of these things, then you're likely staying level 3 and looking to make 10 gold. This is the immediate context of your board, but there's more to it. Does the galaxy or region affect your augments? For example, if you're playing in an item galaxy, then you have less need for items, despite the fact that if you're trying to streak, taking an item augment on 2-1 is usually a really good thing to gain tempo. If you have all the items that you need, then you might want to consider other options. If you're playing in an econ galaxy, then a lot of the times there's less need for econ augments, as you're most likely going to be rich enough to 4-1 it in regions such as Scuttle Puddle and Crab Rape anyway, and most players are going to be getting to level 9, regardless if you take that extra econ injection. If you're playing in a tempo galaxy such as Kayn or Darius, then you want to obviously prioritize higher tempo augments. Despite the fact that you might have a weak opener, it's usually not good to sack too much in this galaxy. If you're playing in Champion Conference, then you want to make sure that you're locking yourself into comps which benefit from every single upgrade. For example, if you play Fated or Duelist, then at each stage you're going to be getting a large spike to your board, versus if you play something like Trick Shots, then it doesn't really work out for you that well, because units such as Bard don't really change the board, and it's very hard to tailor towards Xayah, as she technically counts as Xayah Rakan, so you need to be playing Dragon Lord, and it's quite awkward. I won't cover everything, but you get the picture that you do need to be playing a dynamic game and make sure that you're never autopiloting when it comes to leveling on 2-1. If you're in a loss streak position, then you want to make sure that you're following a passive leveling curve. Otherwise, if you have a strong board, you can play towards an aggressive or regular tempo leveling curve. If you sack and make econ, you'll always have enough money to level to 6 on 3-2 and be strong enough and roll back down if you need to. You'll be starting the game at 30 to 40 HP less, but at least your spot will be good. By the second augment, you should pretty much know what comp you're going to be playing, or at least flex between two comps which are very, very similar. The meta is not diverse enough to flex that hard, so playing a comp from behind is just not really worth it. For example, Duelists need very unique items, Fated want the low cost upgrades plus the Dryad stacks, Kai'Sa wants the Fortune Trickshot Bruiser opener, and Ashe needs the very cheap Wardens and Snipers to go level 9. Most games you're going to fall to it, but don't send it all the way down to 0. Maintaining 10 to 20 gold is very important in a meta where you want to get to level 9 on stage 5. Don't overcomplicate the board if it's a relatively easy line. For example, with Duelist, just open sell everything that isn't Duelist or Heavenly. Yes, you can technically stabilize with Kayn or Sylas, but as soon as you hit that Lee Sin 1, you want to pivot your items to him and make sure that you're getting in 6 Duelists. Sometimes sometimes these pivots can be hard, but if you simplify them, then they're a lot easier because you know exactly what you're going to be playing. For example, don't buy Kai'Sa if you're already locked into Ashe and you have the Snipers and Wardens upgraded. Don't buy Lilia if you're already locked into playing Fated. The comps in this meta can stabilize with the lesser upgrades, so make sure you're taking advantage of that. For example, Triss 2 in Duelist can hold onto your Aurelia items, Aphelios 2 can stabilize before you manage to find that Ashe. Zoe can technically be played in Sage Lilia as an item holder, and Kindred is really good in Fated at holding onto your Syndra items. Cooking a little bit too much can cost gold and LP.
Delicious.